The Java vs Bedrock civil war has been going on for years now, and today we are going to be comparing the two editions of Minecraft to see which one is actually better. To start, punching a pufferfish in Bedrock makes it puff up, but in Java it does nothing. Punching a pufferfish should really make your hand puff up because of the swelling. It would hurt. In Java, if you fall in the void in creative mode, you die. Bro really died in creative mode. But in Bedrock, if you fall in the void, you can just walk on the void. This is just solid ground. You can also get this warning message for building down here in Bedrock. Java doesn't need to warn you though. It expects you to know this. In Bedrock, dyeing the water in cauldrons is an option, and it's what you use to dye leather armor, instead of crafting dyed leather armor like you do in Java. If you want to dye your Enderman, unfortunately it will just teleport away on Bedrock, but dyeing your Enderman on Java would be possible if you could put dye in cauldrons. But do not worry, cause while Bedrock doesn't allow you to dye Enderman, you can dye shulkers in Bedrock. Kind of the same concept as giving your dog a tattoo. You can just permanently change the color of a shulker while it's still alive. Also, if you play Bedrock and you really hate shulkers, you can just shove a chest inside of a shulker using a piston. Now you are just using your dyed shulker as a decoration on top of your chest. Java Edition unfortunately cares about shulkers, and you have to find different ways to harm them instead. You might have noticed I placed a lever on the side of a piston. You can't do this on Java without breaking it off. But Java might have destructible levers, but you can't destroy rails on Java. Not like that. You can't destroy rails with water on Java, but you can on Bedrock. Dogs in Bedrock can eat fish, but dogs on Java hate fish and only eat the finest of cuisine. And you are actually able to damage your vision by looking at the sun in Bedrock. This is why eye tests are available in Bedrock, and you can even get glasses for your player. Now I'm gonna show you some features that are only in Bedrock, but will probably be added to Java soon. In Bedrock, leaves change color when it's snowing. In Bedrock, you can find vines growing randomly on any type of tree. Water has different colors in Bedrock depending on the biome you are in. You can even get red water in the Nether, the most useful thing I've seen so far. And that's it. That's the only things from my list that I can see getting added to Java. In Java Edition, if you blow a mob up that can drop a head with a charged creeper, it will drop the head 100% of the time. But this only works with one mob at a time, but on Bedrock, you can blow up multiple mobs and get all of their heads at once. If you ever wanted to ride a boat through a wall, unfortunately that's not going to happen on Java Edition, but you can place some slabs at the bottom of a wall like this, and then boat through it just fine on Bedrock. In Bedrock, you can give items to armor stands. Originally, I thought you could do this on Java. I was disappointed to find out that you can't. And you can also name an armor stand dinner bone to turn it upside down on Bedrock. I'm starting to think Bedrock may actually be better, which is why I will showcase the difference between bridging on Bedrock and Java. This has just never made any sense to me how this is possible on Bedrock. It feels like something out of a Roblox game. In Bedrock, you can ride a skeleton horse without a saddle. You can't even ride a skeleton horse at all on Java. I really thought you could. There is still a Farlands in Bedrock 17 million blocks out. It works a little differently than the Java Farlands that was removed. This one is even more glitchy. Bedrock has a zoom out animation when you die, while on Java you just die. There's no animation. And on Bedrock, a baby villager's head is massive. Baby villagers must be a lot dumber on Java. The wither on Bedrock is actually a lot more powerful than it is on Java. That is because the Bedrock wither has double the HP, and it glows white when it's spawned. The white doesn't make it any more OP. If you ever wanted to waterboard a phantom, you will be sad to find out that phantoms don't take water damage on Java. But if you play Bedrock, I have good news. Phantoms can actually drown on Bedrock. You can also light yourself on fire in Bedrock, and then use it to light candles and campfires with your body. Java doesn't have this option though. And Java also doesn't have the option to light these things using a fire aspect book like Bedrock does. But something Java does have that Bedrock doesn't is furnace minecarts. Yeah, this item just doesn't exist on Bedrock. If you get a regular minecart on Bedrock and put an iron golem in it, you can see that it works. But on Java, an iron golem is a little too big for a minecart. You also gotta make sure that your iron golem doesn't get trapped inside of the rails, as mobs on Java do not walk over rails. Java really just has superior rails, I guess. These things can block off mobs and restrict water. Bedrock has the superior leads though, as you can attach leads to entities like boats, which isn't a thing on Java. And they also just look super cool compared to the ones on Java. Leads can also be attached to walls on Bedrock, but this only works on fences in Java. And you may also notice that the wall item itself looks different on Bedrock than it does on Java. This is because Well, I don't know why it's like this actually. You can also look at iron bars on Bedrock and notice that they are a lot more symmetrical than they are on Java. And bubble columns look completely different between the two editions as well. I'm gonna say that Java wins this one. The bubble column looks way more natural. In Java, if you spawn a wandering trader spawns. But in Bedrock, if you spawn a wandering trader, it comes with 2 llamas at no extra cost. Bedrock always has the best deals. That is until you find out that carving a pumpkin on Bedrock only gives 1 seed, but on Java it gives 4. And if you've ever seen the inside of a pumpkin in real life, neither of these make any sense. I swear those things have infinite seeds. When you pull a crossbow back on Bedrock in first person, you can see part of your hand. On Java, you cannot see any of your hand, which means you don't have hands on Java. In Bedrock, you can place snow underneath flowers, and you can use bone meal on flowers to make them spread. On Java, neither of these things are possible. But what's possible on Java is climbing up a trapdoor ladder, and on Bedrock it appears you can't even place ladders on trapdoors. I've always hated running over soul sand without blocks. There's no reason for it to be this slow. But on Bedrock, if you sprint jump over soul sand, it just isn't slow. And I think this has something to do with the absolutely amazing running animation on Bedrock. Who doesn't run like this in real life? In Bedrock, blocks that emit light glow on your hotbar. In Java, they don't. In Bedrock, when you have view bobbing on, you get to see a lot of bobbing. Java lets you view less bobbing, but there's still bobbing. Shift-clicking blocks in your inventory has an animation on Bedrock. There is no animation for this on Java. In Bedrock, scaffolding looks different in your inventory than it does on Java, and holding an item in Bedrock is slightly angled, but in Java it's perfectly straight. You might be inclined to go for a swim while wearing an elytra, and unfortunately in Bedrock, your elytra will deactivate if you go into water. But on Java, it actually remains activated, for whatever reason. Now that you're underwater though, you can grow some coral with bone meal, but only in a warm ocean on Java, although this works in every biome on Bedrock. After that, you can steal some aquatic mobs and experiment on them by giving them water breathing. In Bedrock, they will survive on land with water breathing, and on Java, they will do the opposite of that. You might have also bucketed an axolotl while you were in the water, and this is what the name of your axolotl will look like on Java, and this is what the name looks like on Bedrock. They got bro's whole government name, social security number, address. If you prefer setting mobs on fire rather than suffocating them, mobs turn orange and red while on fire in Bedrock, but they only blink red in Java. You can also place a bunch of mobs in a small area in Java to start killing them, but on Bedrock they just won't die. You can create a cannon with mobs on Bedrock though, so they both have their positives and negatives. Similar to the detailed axolotl bucket, switching to an enchanted item on Bedrock will actually show you all the enchantments. On Java, however, you actually have to hover over it in your inventory to see what enchantments they have. In Bedrock, books display 2 pages at a time instead of just 1 on Java edition, and if you write anything offensive in your book on Bedrock, it will become censored. This can also happen on signs, renaming items, pretty much everything where you can type. On Java, you can type freely though. In Java edition, if you cover up your bed with a bunch of blocks, the bed will become obstructed and it will just respawn you at the world's spawn point. But in Bedrock, you can encase your bed in an indestructible vault, and you will still respawn within the area of your bed. If you name a big slime in Java edition and then kill it, the slimes that it splits into will still have the same name. On Bedrock, if you do this, the smaller slimes do not carry over the name. It just becomes forgotten. In Bedrock, animals like horses slowly grow up into an adult, but on Java, the change just happens instantly. You can then ride your horse on Java, and your hunger bar and XP bar get replaced with the horse's health and jump bar, but on Bedrock, the XP bar only gets replaced when you are jumping. Otherwise, you can still see how much XP you have. In Bedrock, hearts move down when you have regeneration, and on Java, for some reason, it's the opposite. Hearts move up. You also can't eat food in peaceful mode when your hunger bar is full on Java, but for some reason you are able to eat as much food as you want in peaceful mode on Bedrock. In Bedrock, having a parrot on your shoulder will prevent you from going through a nether portal, but in Java, the parrot will actually go through to the nether with you. Oh, whoops. Looks like I forgot something in the overworld. If you want to place a torch on top of a honey block, you cannot do this on Java, but it is possible to do this in Bedrock. Useful information for bees. And the new vibrant visuals is actually available on Bedrock, but not on Java. It will be available on Java soon though, but the difference here is that Bedrock seems to get everything first before Java gets it. When you kill a ghast with its own fireball on Bedrock, it will turn orange. You also probably noticed that a ghast's eyes and mouth kind of glow when shooting a fireball on Bedrock, but in Java, it just remains red and boring.